Hey everybody, TG Watkins here with simplertrading.com, and this is another episode of Moxie Minutes on StockCharts.com TV. All right, it is October 28th. We've been seeing a lot of weird moves out there. We've got a lot of earnings happening around. In fact, we just had Apple and Amazon earnings, and from what I last saw, they were both down. So we're going to have to see if this is going to be a catalyst for anything going forward with the market, since the markets are at all-time highs, and I'm starting to see some divergences that we're waiting to have kick in. So let's dive into the market and see what we can find out there. All right, so we have the S&P here, and the divergences that I've been seeing are that basically price is just super high. The first thing that I like to look at going into this whole move, and yes, it's been a very good, strong move, but what I see is on the daily time frame for the S&P that we've had price go down, and then we've had price go up. And notice that the Moxie indicator is exactly following that. The indicator has gone down and has gone up. There's no divergence there. The kind of divergence that I'm looking for, if you see here on the hourly time frame, is basically this. I was looking for price to come down and the Moxie indicator go up. And so we're not getting that yet on the daily chart. So eventually what I would be expecting is I want to see price come down. We don't know if it's going to come down to the daily 50 or maybe even lower. But if that happens, then I want to see a higher low on the daily Moxie indicator. And if we get that, then that tells me that we've got a pretty good situation going forward and that we've got our divergences that we're looking for. Now, I don't know how far price is going to go down. I'm fully prepared for it to only go down a little bit. Maybe it'll come down here to the hourly 200, which is about the same place as the daily 50, something to that extent. But at this point, the markets are very, very high. We don't often see price up here at that third ATR for too long, and also price riding outside of the daily 8 EMA for too long. The other thing we're starting to see is that we've had price continue to move up like this on the 15-minute time frame, but notice that the Moxie indicator has been trending down, and now it is staying below zero. Like we had just a little bit of a poke up here, a little perk, and then right back down. And so this is negative divergence. This is telling me that on this time frame, the energy from the Moxie indicator is below zero, and this is getting pretty rough to the downside. So I'm having troubles believing any kind of move to the upside, and I'm looking for pullbacks, and I just think that playing to the long side is starting to become risky at this point. I think a lot of people are looking at this saying, yeah, that's way too high. I don't think this thing is going to just continue up like this without a pullback. So I think we are looking for a pullback. Now, what I was looking at earlier was also this big gap between price and the hourly 50 as being unsupported. And yesterday on Wednesday, we got a pullback, and where'd it go? Exactly to the hourly 50. Now, usually from there, I would expect price to, if we're going to be rolling over, I'd expect price to kind of do this and then continue down as it works its way through the hourly 50. On an uptrend, all we need to do is hit it and we can continue up, and that's what it looks like it's done so far. As I said, I'm still a little cautious about what I'm seeing here on the 15, and I'm also cautious that if as you guys have been paying attention to me, that some of my lingo, that on the daily chart we do have an inverse trampoline move. So the price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. And remember, I just said also that I don't see any divergence either. So this has been a big, strong move, but we're going to need to have price come back down in order to test support, in order for me to be willing to catch the next long move. I'm not very interested in the long side right now because this thing is getting pretty overbought, generally what I'm seeing. All right, so that's the S&P. The NASDAQ, basically the same. I'm sure the NASDAQ is down a little bit today because of the earnings from Apple and Amazon, and it has been stronger, but it too is up at all-time highs and the daily third ATR and all that kind of stuff, and we're starting to pull away from the hourly 50 again. And what we're doing is going up higher on a little bit less momentum based on that hourly Moxie indicator. But you can see that it has been stronger in the 15 because the 15-minute Moxies are still over zero, whereas the S&P was below zero and declining. So there is overall negative divergence, but the Moxie indicator is stronger over here. And then if we look at the IWM, I'd been looking for this thing to pull back, to fall off of its hourly 50, and we did get that yesterday, and it went all the way down to the hourly 200 and to basically the daily 50 and has bounced back up. Now, I view this as a trampoline move. This is good because price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator still above zero. This is doing what it should be doing. But that doesn't mean it has to keep going up right from here. It can come back down a little bit before going back up. We can do some sort of local double bottom if needed. So I'm not totally out of the woods as far as the IWM. We do have price over the 15-minute 50, but we have not turned the 15-minute 50 up like this and had price follow it. So I'm still leaving that one out a little bit before I'm comfortable saying, yeah, we can go buy it. And that was a good buyable dip. And then we have the Dow Jones. And this is more along the lines of what I would be expecting to see from, say, the S&P when I'm looking for price to start to roll over. You can see that we had that gap between price and the hourly 50, just like what we saw on the S&P. And then you can see here, price went to the hourly 50, and it looks like it's having some troubles trying to bounce off of it. And then what you can see here on the 15, and this is what I've been talking to people about all week, is a heads up that you can tell that energy is running out and that a pullback or a drop is likely. Notice that on the 15-minute time frame, we've had price moving up like that. Notice that the Moxie indicator was flat and below zero. This is what I call an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. And you could see that based on this time frame, it was really running out of strength and likely to pull back. That's what that's trying to indicate and communicate to you is, hey, energy is now negative. Price shouldn't be up here. And eventually energy is going to pull price down. And you can see that's exactly what it did. So now we have a downtrending 15-minute 50, and we're going to have to see how long can the hourly 50 hold price up, or is price going to fall off that and continue to move down? Then let's get into the UVXY. This is another kind of counter signal indicator that I try and look at through here. And mostly what I'm seeing is that price is down here on the lower third ATR. And then also on the hourly, it looks as though we are trying to form some bottom, like a bottom basically. We're trying to turn. You can see that price has been going down and then hitting a level and actually starting to try and turn up. And now we are impacting the hourly 50. So if this is going to move up, the next thing is this price is going to get over the hourly 50 and there could be a move to the upside. And a move to the upside on the UVXY means a move to the downside for the market. The other thing I'm noticing is on the 15-minute time frame. Notice that for the last several days, the 15-minute Moxie has been operating and staying over zero, saying that momentum is positive on this time frame. It's positive, it's positive, positive. It's trying to pull price up. And so what it's trying to do is pull the UVXY up and over these moving averages and make it into an uptrend. That might be big, it might be small, but that's what it's generally looking like. So again, I'm very hesitant to be trading the long side when it looks like the market in general needs to be doing a pullback, and I'm getting a lot of signals and signs that that's going to be the case. Now, Amazon, I know they had earnings. I'm not going to be talking about that specifically. We come over here. I just want to show you guys some of the moves that it's had and how to read and interpret this with the Moxie indicator. So number one, all the way back here, we had a move up into the daily 50 and it managed to push past it. Now, without the Moxie indicator and maybe based on some general simple rules, you might think, hey, price is over the daily 50. Let's go long. It meant price has gotten past that resistance and now it should be clear sailing up above, right? Well, the Moxie indicator is telling you that this is a false move. This is an inverse trampoline move because price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. So that was something that I was even coaching the Moxie subscribers about this back when this was happening. I said, nope, that's not a good situation. Don't go long because that is an inverse trampoline move. And notice that the Moxie indicator is still operating below zero. This is basically the condition that I think the S&P is in right now because the S&P is over the daily 50, but the Moxie indicator is pretty far below zero. So I'm waiting for some sort of pullback to then confirm support. The next thing that we can see, in addition to that, is right in through here. You can see that, yet again, price was trying to push up against a downtrending hourly 50, and notice that the Moxie indicator was again below zero. So that was an inverse trampoline move. Don't go long. You don't want to do that. And then in the middle, what we could start seeing is there's the Moxie price trigger telling us that the indicator is crossed from negative to positive, and there was a move. Now, Not the longest move, not the biggest of moves, but it was a move and it happened exactly at the right time. Notice that the indicator went positive at exactly the right time that price started to move up and do its thing. Then, if you wanted, this is all chop basically. This is all really just chop, but trying to show you how with the indicator you can still see directions of which way you should primarily be playing. Then we had that big pullback. And notice what this was. This was a regular trampoline move. Price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero is a trampoline move. And then you can play it to the upside. I would be out before earnings because earnings are a crapshoot. They're basically a binary event. And so I'm out. But that actually gave you a pretty good signal if you wanted to play it to the upside. Then if you look at Etsy, Etsy had quite a few things. The Moxie subscribers and I played this one this week. You can see in through here, there are a couple patterns. So number one, there's an elf shoe. Notice there's the leg, there's the heel, there's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, there's the elf toe. Great. And then, so that was the double bottom that helped set up the move. And we had a regular trampoline move. Notice that price was below the daily 50, but the Moxie indicator was above zero. And so that set us up for a positive divergence, for a positive move to the upside because price should not be below the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. So what we do is we look at that and say, yeah, that's great. We should be looking for price to come up and out of that because having price go down below the 50 while the Moxie indicator is above zero is generally a high buoyancy, high pressure kind of trade because the Moxie indicator is trying to communicate to you that it actually still wants to be positive. Momentum and energy is still positive despite price being low. And so what we see about that is that's basically a buy the dip situation. And the Moxie indicator helps tell you that that is likely to be a buy the dip situation, not just a falling apart of the trend. We could then see here when we started, here's another double bottom area. Actually, that's the same double bottom. And you can see that we had positive divergence right here on the hourly chart. So that is the thing that's kind of communicating to you and telling you, hey, this is going to be working out. We're starting to see some divergence. Now, how do we make sure we get that, but not the false long? Because yet again, you can see here that price was up over the hourly 50, and you might be thinking, great, it got past that moving average resistance. Now we can play it to the long side. But if you were looking at the Moxie indicator, you'd realize that this was an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below zero. And then if I were to really circle this back to what we're seeing on the S&P about divergences, notice that here we had price down, price up. Notice that the Moxie indicator had Moxie indicator down, Moxie indicator up. You guys see how there's no divergence? This is the concern I have when I'm looking at the S&P on the daily chart and the fact that we have price up over the 50, but the Moxie indicator still below zero without any divergence. What I'd like to see on the S&P is I then need to see, if we're on the S&P, like consider us up here. What I want to see is a pullback like this, and then if it holds, then we can start moving back up to the upside. So this is what I'm looking for, waiting for, watching, and that's part of why I'm saying I think we need a pullback in the market. All right, then a couple other names that we can be looking at. If we go and look at Riot, so Bitcoin has been doing pretty well. It's a little high, and it has been pulling back, starting to trend sideways for a little bit. And I think that this is going to provide us some pretty good grounds for names like Riot or Mara or any of the other Bitcoin-related names that, if we haven't been able to find a way in yet, should be able to pretty soon because of this move down. So the thing I've been looking at here is we've been talking a lot about trampoline moves, right? Well, notice that we've had a couple here. So number one, there was a trampoline move right here, price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. Yet again, this helps tell us that this is likely to be a buyable dip or a buyable pullback. So we look at something like that, we look for signs that price is going to be moving to the upside, and then we can go take it. Now, of course, for this move up, I could see that there was some resistance, namely the daily 50. You can see, let me kind of zoom in there for you. But this move up right here was into resistance because the daily 50 was right there in the way. So expect price to pull back. That's what I've been telling my subscribers, and no big deal on that. So one quick little move. The next one I'm looking at is having price come back down the way it is. Same thing, I'm expecting this with the market too. But now what do we have? We have price below the hourly 50, the Moxie indicator above zero, this is a potential trampoline move. Because remember, price should not be below the 50 if the Moxie indicator is above zero. And so, trampoline move. Now, we need to wait for it to confirm. And so, what we're going to do is wait, I don't know, day 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever we need, until price starts to hold a low and then actually starts to make a move to the upside. So, I'm going to be looking at this, watching this on some other time frames lower down and seeing if we can find the exact moment that Riot wants to start moving up, hopefully in conjunction with the next move up in Bitcoin. All right, then let's get into Nail. This is a triple leveraged ETF of the Homebuilders. And as far as timing purposes go, I wanted to show you this. Notice, and we talked about this with Amazon too, notice that the Moxie price trigger right here fired at exactly the right time as price was getting over and holding the hourly 50. This is a perfect timing situation. This is why I love the Moxie indicator. This is why we can use it as a timing function, and that we're looking for price to then hold these moving averages with the indicator over zero, implying that we have both situations of the rule. We have momentum that is transitioning from negative to positive, and we have a price that's starting to hold these moving averages, and those moving averages are going to start moving price to the upside or to the downside, depends on which direction you're going. So that has been a really good move that I've been watching. And then going back a little bit further, just to show you something with the S&P that I'm looking for, is notice that we've had price up over the daily 50 right and through there, right? Well, what did it do eventually? Eventually, it did come back down to the daily 50. Now, I understand that it rolled over and went further down after that, but the point that I'm trying to show is that we saw price get over the daily 50, pull back into the daily 50, and it did move up from there. This part after here is later. We have to assess that later. But I'm looking for the S&P to come back down and test the daily 50 for reasons like this. All right, then we'll get into our final one. If we look at GDX, this is another kind of situation that I've been watching for a while, and I think that I think we're starting to develop a trend change for gold, GDX, gold miners, precious metals. They do seem like they are starting to move. Now, as I said, I consider this the first move because why? Here's price up over the daily 50, just like Nail that I showed you, just like the S&P. And so now what I want to be seeing is I want to see price come back down to test the daily 50. So first move over it, then we get a test of it. And I think it's going to take some time. We're going to have to watch this. You can see that we've had price move up, came into some resistance up there. And you can see price has been following the hourly 50 for a while, but now we've got price breaking the hourly 50. And notice that the Moxie indicators are really, really rolling off to the downside. Essentially, I think this is what we should be expecting for the S&P at some point. I do think that the market at some point is going to start cutting through and falling off of the hourly 50 and heading back down to easily the daily or the hourly 200. The hourly 200 for both the S&P and GDX and whatever happens to be in about the same place as the daily 50. So I do think prices are going to be up over the daily 50, and then I want to see them pull back into the daily 50. As an example of that, let me just show you Uber. There you go. That's what I'm expecting. Price up over the daily 50 and then price back down into the daily 50. You can see here, as far as reading the Moxie indicator, notice that we had price moving up. Notice we had the Moxie indicator moving down. We got the Moxie price trigger right on cue. And then you can see inverse trampoline move and price continues to get pushed down. So this one has been working out pretty well. It's taken a long time for us. We're in it, we're short, but it's paying off and it's working for us. And so the idea of coming back down to the daily 50 has been working, and I think we should be looking at that for the S&P, for the Nasdaq, and probably the Dow, and then of course the IWM is basically on its own planet. All right, so there you have it. We've been looking into the market and seeing what's going on. It has been pretty strong. We've seen a lot of moves in the market be going up, but you know what? I think it's starting to come to an end. I am very curious to see how the rest of the week is going to handle the Apple and Amazon earnings, the fact that they are down a bit. Will this be a trigger? Is it going to be a viable dip? As I said, I do think that the indexes and the markets are pretty high, and it is likely that we should be seeing a pullback. I don't know when it's going to be happening. This thing keeps pushing further than a lot of us have anticipated. And hopefully That means we can get some action next week. I would love a pullback because a pullback to support should really help reset some stuff. So that's what I'm looking for. You guys enjoy your weekend. If you guys have any questions, come over here to profitpilot.com or go check me out at simplertrading.com or over at stockcharts.com. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.